So what we were discussing before is that if there is a single phase inverter, right, then the capacitor will have 100 hertz oscillations, right? If a single phase inverter, a grid feeding inverter is connected to the grid, the capacitor will have 100 hertz oscillation or 120 hertz oscillation, depending on grid frequency being 50 or 60 hertz. And yes, if we keep on adding C value, the oscillations in the capacitor voltage will keep on reducing, right? And if you use a very large value of C, maybe you get practically a flat voltage profile, right? So as you increase C, then delta VC reduces. But one thing which you should notice here is we are not really utilizing the capacitor to its fullest. Why is it so? Because let's say for a given value of C, this is the waveform, right? Now, what is the voltage of C varying? It is varying from this peak value, max value, to this min value. And therefore, if you see what is the energy that this capacitor is negotiating or exchanging with the grid, the energy that it is exchanging is nothing but half CV max square minus half CV min square, right? This is the energy which it is, absorbing for some time, then giving it back for some time, absorbing for some time, giving it back for some time. But then, if you look at this capacitor, what is the maximum energy it can store or it stores, which is equal to half CV max square, right? So you see, if I simplify it, right, C will get cancelled out, half will get cancelled out. So what is left is 1 minus Vmin by Vmax square. You can think of it as a factor which indicates the effective usage, which indicates the effective usage of capacitor, right? So capacitor has a lot of energy in it, but you are only using small part of it and giving it to the grid and absorbing it from the grid, right? So you are not utilizing, or rather one is not utilizing the capacitor to its fullest potential. In fact, as Vmin will start becoming closer and closer to Vmax, you see from this formula, your utilization factor will become poor and poor, right? It will tend towards 0. If Vmin is exactly equal to Vmax, then actually you are not utilizing the energy storage capacity of the capacitor, right? Now with this motivation, right, people thought about something which is called as active power decoupling circuits. So this was the motivation for our current discussion on active power decoupling. Now, what is power decoupling? Power decoupling essentially means that you want to decouple the oscillatory power with the average power, right? You want to supply the oscillatory power from the capacitor and you want to supply the DC power from the panel. Active power decoupling means where you can actively decouple this oscillatory and the DC component. So how is it done is something like this. Let's again consider a full bridge inverter connected to a grid. And now this is the panel. Now instead of connecting a large capacitor here, what we do is we connect additional switch leg and create this synchronous buck converter, right? So we create this synchronous buck converter. Now, how that synchronous buck converter works is that it can, if you see this as a unit, right? If you see this as a unit, this is a synchronous DC to DC buck converter, right? So this synchronous DC to DC buck converter can absorb power and it can give back power, right? And it can keep on doing that. So the original capacitor was also doing the same, right? It was absorbing power, it was giving power. This synchronous buck converter can also do the same. It can absorb power. Obviously, when it absorbs, it will still store the power in this capacitor C, and then it can give back power. So it seems similar, right? I mean, this synchronous buck converter can play the role of that energy storage capacitor, which was there in the previous circuit. And while doing so, the limitation of the earlier limitation, where the earlier capacitor was only being utilized for a very small energy, on the other hand, here this C can actually be utilized to the maximum, right? So unlike the previous case, here the utilization of this C is much more. So by adding this, additional switches and inductor, what one has essentially done is improve the utilization factor of this capacitor significantly. Yeah, there exists a trade-off, right? So if you are adding switches, adding inductor, there is a cost addition because of those components. There are losses happening because of those components, but you also gain something, that is, you can use a much smaller value of capacitance as compared to the previous case. All right, so this, in addition to this, still there is a very small value of cap which exists on the DC bus, whose job is only to absorb the high frequency component. Its job is to absorb switching frequency or high frequency component, right? Because you still need some cap, right? Because the switch currents will be on and off, right? So square wave or a quasi square wave kind of waveforms. And you don't want those currents to be flown from the panel. So you still need a small capacitor, but this capacitor job is only, to filter out these high frequency current. And it does not play any role in case of a low frequency power. So all the low frequency power, which was the majority of the work of the previous capacitor, is now transferred to this synchronous buck converter. All right, now if we see in the synchronous buck converter, there is an inductor L and there is a capacitor C, right? And within this buck converter, both of them are capable of storing energy. But in general, right, the cost of energy storage, cost per unit of energy, storage of a capacitance, especially an aluminum electrolyte capacitance, is much lower as compared to an inductor, right? Inductors are usually bulky for the same energy, and also they are more costly for the same energy. And therefore, in this buck circuit, right, usually what we do is we add, good amount of capacitance to take care of the low frequency power. L, we, just add sufficient enough. The main role of L here is not to store energy, but again also just to ensure that the ripple current is limited to a certain value, right? So again, the role of L is very similar to the outside C, which is to limit delta I at switching frequency, right? So again, we use a very small value of L. So whatever this synchronous buck converter, it absorbs energy, gives back energy, all of that, if it is absorbing energy, it should have some element which will, absorb that energy. So that is this capacitor C at the end of the day. Okay, so now let me just redraw this circuit once again, and let's try to write some equations and see what is the utilization factor here, how the utilization factor is actually improved, and so on. So let me just redraw. Now I will not draw the full thing, right? I would only draw this one of the active power decoupling circuit. There are quite a few other circuits which are also possible. This is VC, right? Now, as we understand, the power on this right-hand side in the inverter is oscillatory, right? And if this full circuit, we would like it to absorb that oscillatory component of the power. So if you see this power, APD stands for active power decoupling, right? So APD circuit, the power it will absorb is nothing but given by, continuing from our previous discussions, it is VR IR cos of 2 omega t, right? Because the power that is flowing in the right side is given by VR IR minus VR IR cos of 2 omega t. So the power absorbed by the active power decoupling circuit should be equal to VR IR cos 2 omega t. If active power decoupling circuit absorb this power, then it would replace the capacitor. And for this active power decoupling to absorb this power, right, as we have just now discussed, the only energy storage element in this circuit is this capacitor C, right, nothing else. So therefore this C must be absorbing this power. So therefore this should be equal to the power absorbed by this capacitor C. Now I can rewrite this thing and I can write it as, if the voltage across C is VC, the current flowing in the C is IC, I can say at any instant VC into IC, both are function of time, is given by VR IR cos of 2 omega t. I can substitute IC as C dVCd by dt, and then I can say VC dVc by dt is equal to VR IR cos of 2 omega t. Now, what is if I create a graph, let's say showing what is this power which is absorbed by the capacitor.
Sir,
I'm sorry. Yeah, C is missing. Thanks.
Sir,
Thanks. Yeah. So I is equal to C du by dt. So there's a C here. So if I draw the power absorbed by the capacitor, right, this is cos function. So this looks something like this, right? If I define theta as 2 omega t, then this point is theta equal to pi by 2. This point is theta equal to 3 pi by 2, and so on. Now, if I try to draw this capacitor voltage, right? Now, if you see, how would the capacitor voltage look like? So when this capacitor is giving power, right, between theta equal to pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2, the capacitor is giving power, so its voltage will drop. Why? Because it's giving energy, right? Its energy is dropping, so half CV square is the energy, so voltage has to reduce. So during this period, voltage reduces, and for the next period, voltage will rise, right? So by looking at this, we can say that this point is nothing but the V max point, and this point is nothing but V min point. So why I'm trying to draw these waveform is because the left side equation I would like to integrate, and to put the limits, I need to figure out where does the maxima occur, where does minima occur, and that is the reason I'm drawing these waveforms. All right, now let me continue working on the equation and try to integrate it. So we take C VC dVc is equal to VR IR cos of theta. I have changed dt to theta upon 2 omega going limit. Now I have to put limits. So let's say when V is V min, VC is V min, that is where theta is equal to 3 pi by 2. And going to, let's say, any instant where VC is given by VCT and theta is given by theta. Right, now if I solve it, I get C times VC by 2 times VC square minus V min square is equal to VR IR upon 2 omega sine of theta minus sine of 3 pi by 2, which is minus 1 plus 1. And this is the equation. Let me just do a little bit of rearrangement here, and I can write VC square, which is at any instant t, is given by V minimum square plus VR IR upon omega c into sine theta plus 1. Right, so far so good. So this equation tells us that if at all this buffer, the active power decoupling circuit has to, replace the actual capacitor, the voltage of the capacitor of the active power decoupling circuit should follow equation number 1. If capacitor voltage follows this equation number 1, then we can perfectly decouple the power. That means this active power circuit will behave as a huge capacitor. It will absorb all the ripple power, and thus the panel will see no voltage oscillations across its terminal, no low frequency oscillations across its terminal. Yeah, so now let me further utilize. So if you see this expression, right, this is VCT square, it depends on V min, the value of capacitance, VR into IR is the power, right? It depends on frequency also. It depends on all of these things, which is what is expected. Now let me try to see what is the minimum C we can use, right, to achieve this or to realize this equation 1. As I told you before, that the earlier capacitor, where there was only capacitor, the utilization factor was very poor. Why? Because the minimum voltage, you cannot bring less, right? You were stuck to within plus or minus 5%, 10%. But on the contrary, in this circuit, you can bring VC minimum to any value, right? Only constraint is because of this being a buck circuit. So the VC has to be greater than equal to 0 and has to be less or equal to VDC, right? This constraint is because of the buck circuit. Other than that, there is no constraint. So you can oscillate VC right from 0 till VDC, and again VDC to 0. So that way you can utilize the energy of the capacitor completely, right? Because there is no load connected, right, across this capacitor terminal. So this capacitor oscillation can be very large. There is absolutely no issue. So now utilizing that thing, right, and let us try to search or find what is the minimum value of C required to achieve active power decoupling. So when will minimum value of C be required, right? The C minimum would be required if, as I told you, this capacitor allows for full swing of voltage. That means this capacitor voltage touches 0, right? So the V min is 0. That is where the capacitor utilization would be maximum. So if I substitute V min equal to 0, right, then I get this expression as VC squared T is equal to VR IR upon omega C sine theta plus 1, right, which I can rewrite as VR IR by omega C sine theta plus 1. I can write it as 2 times sine theta by 2 cos theta by 2 plus sine square theta plus cos square theta, right, which I can rewrite as VR IR by omega C A square plus B square plus 2AB. So sine theta plus cos of theta square. Now, if I take both sides there are square, right, and if I take VC of T, can I write, sorry, this will come in root sine theta plus cos theta. Yeah, so if I take the root on both sides, can I write this expression? Answer is no, because if I write this expression, then sine theta plus cos theta, right, is a varying quantity and it will become negative. But on the other hand, the left hand side, Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, it should be sine square theta by 2 plus cos square theta.
Oh, yeah, thanks again. Yeah, it should be sine theta by 2 cos theta by 2. Yeah, correct. Then only it will be a square plus b square plus 2ab. Correct. Thank you. Yeah, so I cannot write this expression because the right hand side quantity is actually nothing but, if you see, it is root of VR IR by omega c into cos of theta by theta was 2 omega t. So theta by 2 is omega t minus pi by 4, right? So now right hand side quantity will oscillate between plus and minus, but capacitor voltage, because I'm using this buck circuit, it can never go negative, right? Or rather it will be uncontrollable if it goes negative, right? Because there is this diode which sits here. So therefore my capacitor voltage has to be restricted to positive values, and therefore this is not valid, right? What is valid is mod of this, right? So when you take square root on both sides, you put a mod, right? So yeah, now this is a valid expression. So what it says is, if my capacitor voltage is a function like this, right, that implies that I am able to achieve active power decoupling.
Sir, I think you missed root 2, sir.
Okay, sorry, I'm making a lot of mistakes today. Let me just give me 1 second. Yeah, correct. I am making a lot of mistakes today. Yeah, thank you for pointing it out. So yeah, so this expression gives me the waveform or the expression for the capacitor voltage to achieve active power decoupling. Let us just plot it, just to get a feel of it, that how does it look like, right? So this Vc of t, it's a rectified cosine wave, right? So it would, assuming that it is 0 somewhere, right, it would look like this. It will look like a rectified cosine wave, right, touching to 0, right? This is how this Vc wave would look like, which will give us the best utilization of the capacitor. Now further, if once we have got the expression for Vc, what can be the maximum value of Vc? The maximum value of Vc, as again, because of the constraint of the circuit, because it's a buck converter, maximum it can go is equal to VDC, right? It cannot exceed VDC. So therefore, we can say Vmax is equal to VDC. And now when will this Vmax occur? When this right hand side cosine expression is equal to 1, right, at this point. So this point is Vmax, which cannot exceed VDC. So if I substitute that, right, then what I get is VDC is equal to root of VR IR upon omega c into root of 2, right? And if I rearrange it, I get this C, which is the minimum value of C required to achieve active power decoupling, is given by VR IR. I can write it as power. So 2 times the grid power, right, or the AC, the power P, average power, upon omega VDC square. This expression tells us that if we use this value of minimum C in this active power decoupling circuit, it will give me complete power decoupling, right? And it would utilize the capacitor to the fullest. Capacitor utilization factor is 1 because you are charging it to the max value and then you are discharging it to the 0 value, right? So the utilization factor is also very good, plus there is no ripple in the actual DC voltage which is seen by the panel. So it sort of checks all the requirement that we were looking for. You can obviously keep a larger value of C, right? This is the minimum, but you can always keep a larger value of C. If you keep a larger value of C, your oscillations might come down. Wave shapes may change and stuff like that. I'm just drawing a representative wave from here, right? If you increase the value of C, then the wave shape would become, the ripple would become smaller and smaller, your utilization factor may become a little bit poor, but you do get, you know, one advantage very specifically, and which is as follows. If let's say we decide that, look, why should I operate at a larger C? Let me operate at C min. So if you're operating at C min, essentially you have to ensure that the capacitor voltage follows this waveform, right? This becomes the reference capacitor voltage waveform, and the actual capacitor voltage must follow this. Now it is very difficult for the capacitor voltage to follow this particular waveform. Why? Because capacitor current is given by C dVc by dt. Right? So here, if you see, dV by dt is not defined in a way, or in a way, if you want to recreate this, you have to force a very large value of current. So practically what will happen is, if you keep this minimum value of C, you will never be able to achieve this sharp transition in the capacitor voltage, right? And if you will not be able to achieve that, that means your reference capacitor voltage will not be equal to the desired capacitor voltage, and which means you will not achieve perfect active power decoupling. That means you will, you know, probably reduce the ripple in the main DC voltage, but there would still be low frequency ripple in the main DC bus. So what we do is, you know, we usually do not keep the minimum C. If you see in literature, people would generally keep a higher value of C, right? So one of the limitation is that large value of IC required for VC is equal to VC reference with C min value, and therefore you know may want to use 2 times C min, or 3 times C min, or 4 times C min, and so on. All right, now this was one of the circuit, right? There are few different circuits which exist. Let me talk to you about one more circuit, right? So the other circuit is as follows. The inverter is the same, right? The panel is the same. The earlier active power decoupling circuit was something like this. Right, now instead of that, you add one more capacitor on the top, right? And this becomes the second circuit. You can still control, you know, the capacitor voltages, because as we have seen in basic power electronics course, the average voltage across the inductor is almost zero, right? Over a cycle, or over a switching period also, to some extent, it's almost, you know, very small. And therefore the average node voltage, V node, right? The average node voltage could be almost equal to the capacitor voltage, VC1. Here there are 2 capacitors, VC1, VC2. So this node voltage will be almost equal to this voltage here, which is VC1, right? So even in the previous buck circuit also, you can, you know, control the duty cycle, and you can achieve the desired value of the capacitor voltage, as long as sharp transitions are not required. Same thing you can do here also. So nothing changes as such. It still, you know, almost looks like a buck converter, still the same basic operation. The only thing that has changed is there is an addition of capacitor on the top, right? That is the thing that has changed. Now, if you want to do analysis of this particular circuit in the same way that we did the previous circuit, right? Now we can, you know, jump some steps, and we can directly see that the IC1 into VC1 plus IC2 into VC2 is nothing but equal to VR IR cos of 2 omega t. Why? Because in this case, the energy that this active power decoupling circuit, or the power this active power decoupling circuit is absorbing or supplying, will get stored in one of these 2 caps. So if we add the power of each of them together, then that is the total power that this full circuit is, you know, either supplying or absorbing. Further, if I simplify this circuit, this equation, I can rewrite it as I C dV. So let's assume that both the capacitance values are same as C. So I can write this as C times VC1 dVC1 by dt plus VC2 dVC2 by dt. Right hand side expression remains the same. This I can further simplify it as C times d of VC1 square plus VC2 square by dt. You see, this is the same expression as we got last time. The only difference is last time this thing was just VC, and here we have got VC1 square. This thing was just VC square. Here it is VC1 square plus VC2 square. Right? That is the only difference. So let me say that let me call this as x square for the time being, just for quick calculations. Right? If I call this x square, and if I repeat the whole calculation process, then I can just reuse the equation number excuse me, I can reuse equation number 1, right? I can reuse equation number 1, and I can replace VC with x and V min with x min. So while doing so, I can say x square is equal to x min square plus VR IR by omega c sin theta plus 1. Right? This is at any instant t or at any instant theta, because 2 omega t is equal to theta. Now the next question, the way we did before, for maximum utilization, we would like the swing to be maximum, right? So what is x min? What is the value of x min? Here, this is x, VC1 square plus VC2 square. At the same time, you would see that VC1 plus VC2, that is top capacitor voltage plus bottom capacitor voltage, is nothing but equal to the total DC link voltage, right? So if you use these equations, let's say these equations are 3 and 4, right? If you use these equations 3 and 4 and you try to find x min, right? You can substitute VC into 1, find derivative, substitute equal to 0, and so on. And what you will get is x min value will be achieved when both VC1 and VC2 are equal to VDC by 2. That means x min itself would be equal, square of x min will be equal to VDC by 2 square plus VDC by 2 square, which is equal to VDC square by 2, right? This is the value of x min square. So let us substitute this value of x min square into equation number 5. Let's substitute this here, right? And what we get is x of t square is equal to VDC square by 2 plus VR IR omega c sin theta plus 1. Right, so I've done the same thing as I did before. I substituted to find the minimum value of C for effective utilization. I wanted the value of X to be minimum, and this is the minimum possible value of X, which is VDC by 2, right? Minimum value of X is at VDC square by 2. So I substitute that minimum possible value of X, and I get this particular expression here. So now, what is the maximum value? So one thing you can do is, right, you can solve this equation number 6, and by solving this equation number 6, we will get an expression of x of t, right? And that is the reference that will give us the reference value of the capacitor voltage VC1. And once we get reference of VC1, the reference of VC2 is nothing but VDC minus reference of VC1. So that will give us that. Maybe we can do that. Let's go ahead and do it. So let's say VC1 is VDC by 2 plus alpha of t, where I'm defining alpha as a new function, and VC2 as VDC by 2 minus alpha of t. So this satisfies equation number 4, that the total addition of both capacitor voltage must be equal to VDC. So if I consider these equations number 7 and 8, right, and I try to substitute the equation 7 and 8 into 6, what will I get? I'll get VDC by 2 square plus alpha square plus 2 times VDC by 2 into alpha of t plus VDC by 2 square plus alpha square minus 2 times VDC by 2 into alpha of t, right? This is the left side expression, which this is just x square of t, right? This is just x of t square. So if I substitute if I simplify this, what will I get? This term will cancel out, right? I'll get 2 alpha square of t plus VDC by 2, VDC square by 2, right? If I substitute this into equation number 6, then what I get is 2 alpha square t plus VDC square by 2 is equal to VDC square by 2 plus VR IR upon omega c sine of theta plus 1. Right, again this will cancel out. What I will get is alpha square of t is equal to VR IR upon omega c sine of theta plus 1. Right, now you can simplify it, and I can write the right hand side expression VR IR upon omega c into 2 cos of omega t minus pi by 4 square. Right, and now if I take the root, I can say alpha of t is equal to root of 2 times VR IR upon omega c.
Sir, 2 is missing, sir, I guess.
Another 2 is missing. Yeah, one more 2 I've missed. Thank you. So this 2 will come in the denominator and it will cancel out the top 2. Okay. And cos of omega t minus pi by 4. Now, as compared to the previous case where the value of voltage could not have been negative and therefore, I had to put a mod. In this case, what is alpha of t? You see, alpha of t, as we have defined in equation number 7, it can be negative. Why? Because the capacitor voltage VC1 can be VDC2 plus a little bit, can also be VDC2 minus a little bit, right? In fact, VC1 can swing from 0 to VDC. So alpha can be negative, right? And that is the reason we don't need to put a mod here. And that is the reason this expression of alpha comes out to be just cosine. That means if you want to, plot now VC1, how VC1 looks like, VC1 is VDC by 2 plus alpha of t, right? If you want to plot it, it is like there's an average value and then there is oscillation, right? So there is no sharp transition here, unlike the previous case. So therefore, it becomes practically easier to implement, right? Your closed loop control can easily implement this or can easily realize this kind of operation, right? So that is the advantage we get by putting this top C. But what is the disadvantage now? What is the disadvantage? Anyone wants to, I mean, obviously, if you guys are already aware of active power decoupling circuit, you would know. But if you are, not aware of the active power decoupling concept, then can somebody point out what seems like a limitation here? What seems like a limitation here? This is the advantage, right? So your capacitor voltages, each of them are now can be, offset plus a sinusoid. So there is no sharp transition that will happen. So what is the limitation? Yeah, limitation is that, the figure you see, there are 2 capacitors, right? So you need more capacitance. In fact, you don't need just 2 times the capacitance, you need 4 times the capacitance. How? Utilizing equation number 9, right? What is the max value of alpha of t? What is the max value of alpha of t? Alpha of t can be maximum touch at VDC by 2, right? alpha of t can be maximum at VDC by 2. So if you substitute alpha at VDC by 2 and you take square, right, and you take the maxima of the right hand side, what you get is VR IR upon omega C. Right, and now if you further simplify it, it's V square upon 4 is equal to power average upon omega C. And if you solve this, you get the value of C minimum, which is equal to P average upon omega VDC square 2 into 2. That means you get the minimum C, which is 2 times the previous value of C. And moreover, there are 2 capacitors, one on the top, one on the bottom. So the total C requirement, total minimum C requirement, which is you need C at the top, C in the bottom. So the total C requirement becomes 4 times the value of C which we were using earlier, which was 2 times P average upon omega VDC square, right? So yes, you get a sinusoid voltage reference, but then the problem comes because the total requirement of the capacitance has gone up, right? You cannot now manage with the minimum value of C. You need the minimum C in this topology is actually the total is 4 times what we could have worked with in the previous circuit topology. Just one more point which we will discuss, and then we can talk about take questions. So if you see both the circuits, right, what we were essentially doing is I'll just go back up. In both the circuits, we were adding some kind of converter on the DC side, right, and trying to achieve active power decoupling. So these are usually called as DC side active power decoupling methods or active power decoupling circuits, right? Similarly, if you try to add some of this part on the right hand side, they become AC side APD circuits, right? So what we looked at is the DC side active power decoupling circuits, right? Let me give you a glimpse of one of the AC side active decoupling circuit. Yeah, we will obviously not do the derivation for it. The steps are the same, and you can go back and think and derive the expression for yourself. So one of the AC side APD circuit looks something like this. So we do have, let's say, a full bridge circuit. There is an inductor, and this is the other inductor, right? We have connected the inductor in the common mode fashion, and this is connected to the grid. This is the normal inverter, right? And this is where we'll have panel. Now let's say we add another leg here and connect this leg to the midpoint of a capacitor which is connected on the AC side, right? So let's say this is now VC1, VC2. Again, for simplicity, we can assume that both capacitances C values are same, right? And now you can manipulate this third leg. Let me call it this third leg, which I've highlighted here. This third IGBT leg I can manipulate, and I can control this voltage, let's say V1, right? So I can manipulate this node voltage now by controlling this voltage V1, right? The average value of V1 is nothing but which appears at this node with respect to the negative DC bus, right? And by doing modulation of this third leg, I can manipulate the voltages of VC1 and VC2 in this particular circuit, and I can still think of achieving active power decoupling, right? So that I only require very small capacitance here just to absorb the high frequency and nothing else. So here, because we are adding these bulk the energy storing capacitors on the AC side, these are called as AC side active power decoupling circuits. You can still go with the same principles. Again, you can see that these L's are very small, so you assume they don't absorb any energy, right? They don't absorb any low frequency power ripple component. and you can write the equations. It would be a little bit more tricky now because the total voltage VC1 plus VC2 is no longer a constant. It itself, is a function of it is equal to grid voltage. So it may become a little bit trickier to solve, but I think you can still do the same. Still try to see if you can find out the minimum value of C required in this circuit. Try to find out the reference voltage for VC1 and VC2. Right, a reference voltage of VC2, for example, you can regulate. For example, if this voltage is V2, right, and V2 you are regulating for grid operation, then you can find the reference for V1 such that V1 minus V2, the average of that, right, over a switching period is equal to the reference value of VC2. Right, so you can still use obviously these basic edge bridge S1, S2, S3, S4. They would be being controlled to, let's say, control the active power, the grid current, and so on. But this additional switches S5 and S6 can be controlled to control V1. And if you can control V1, you can ensure that the capacitor voltage is equal to the reference value.